Here are 5 awesome watches under $2,000. First, let's talk about a GMT, and there's a lot of choices in this category. I chose to go with a new release from Mido and Hodinkee. It's called Mido Club Ocean GMT. It's a limited edition watch, a collaboration between Mido and Hodinkee, and I think this GMT looks awesome. As of recording of this video, the watch is still available. I don't know how long it will take to sell out, but I have no doubt that it will sell out. And that's why I actually wanted to highlight it in this video, because to be honest, from the Swatch group, there are so many different choices of GMT watches, of diver watches. However, this one here being a limited edition, I expect to go up in price over the next few years. Now, don't buy this watch just to make some money, because that's not guaranteed. You might or you might not. Buy it only if you do truly like the watch, enjoy it, and if it goes up in value, well, hey, that's just a nice bonus. The proportions on the case should fit most wrists very comfortably, 40.5 millimeters diameter, and it's only 13.5 millimeters thick. I really like that GMT style bezel with the big lume pip. That looks pretty awesome. I also like the layered look to the dial, and overall the integration of the date wheel, the integration of that red GMT hand and the red writing on the dial, the overall stark contrasts that are utilized here in the design language, all of that looks really, really good. This one is powered by the movement called Caliber 80 C07, and it's basically a ETA 2824 modified to have a GMT complication, which makes it not a true GMT. It doesn't have that local jumping hand. In this price point, it's very difficult to get a watch with a local jumping hand. However, what you do get is 80 hours of power reserve, which is really nice to see. Another thing that I appreciate about this release is the fact that you get 3 different strap options. You get the mesh strap, you also get the brown leather strap, and a 2-piece nylon. And just looking at the pictures, all of them look really awesome on this timepiece. Now, complete transparency, I haven't actually held this watch in my hand, so I can't speak to the quality, but overall Mido always delivers. Its Swatch group, it's fairly safe to buy from, and of course I tested other Ocean Star Mido watches, so I kind of know what to expect. Now, those were divers, this is a GMT, but the principles, the build quality should be very similar. Next up is a dress watch. Here I went for a Nomos. It's called Club Automat Datum. I owned a Nomos in my collection for about 2 years, and I love that watch. I sold it in order to fund my purchase of a Rolex Submariner, and you know what? I kind of regret that decision because I really, really loved my Nomos. Now, this one here is on the Black Friday sale. Actually, a few watches that I'm highlighting here will be on that Black Friday sale. However, these sales happen all the time, so if you miss the sale, don't worry, just look around. You'll be able to find these watches for a similar price all year around. It just takes a little bit of patience and searching. Now, why did I choose this watch specifically? Well, because it's under $2,000. However, if you're willing to go that used route or maybe gray market route and look around, there are different Nomos watches that you can score in this price category. You don't have to go for this one specifically. Nomos Tangomat, Nomos Tengete, you can get them for under $1,500. Great used examples all day long on eBay and Chrono24. Now, what about this club model? Well, I really love that color combination here. The pop of orange looks awesome. This one also comes with a date complication and that nice sub-seconds dial. Classic Bauhaus style design, and also doesn't have those wire lugs, the lugs that a lot of people don't like in Nomos watches. This one here has a bit more of a traditional case. Now, the crown does look a little bit undersized, which might make it a little difficult to interact with. But other than that, this looks like an awesome watch. Now, in this price category, under 2,000, you're not getting a display case back. If you are planning to buy one of these watches, maybe splurge a little bit, add a couple of $100 and get the one with the display case back, because it's worth it. These movements are beautiful. They're finished beautifully, and they're definitely worth paying a little bit extra for. It's just for this video, because it has to be under $2,000, I couldn't really highlight one with a display case back. Now, as far as the fit on the wrist, it says about 41.5 millimeters. Remember, these watches do wear larger. So if you have a bit of a smaller wrist, I would suggest going for a different model with a bit of a smaller case diameter, because there's pretty much no bezel. It's all dial on these watches, which make them wear very large on your wrist. As you can see here, my Tangomat were much larger than that 38mm case diameter would suggest. So just be aware of that. If you have a bigger wrist, 41.5 should be fine. If you have a bit of a smaller wrist, go for something a bit smaller. Next up, let's talk about some chronographs. Here, under $2,000, there are actually quite a few great options. Now, if you want to go for something a little bit safer as a choice, you can go for a Swatch Group watch. Here, there are two different watches. Both are great. So you can go with something like a Hamilton. I particularly like these Intra-Matic chronograph watches. They have this really cool vintage inspired styling, big pump style pushers, big oversized crown. You also get that Hamilton quality, and overall it's a great watch to go with. Now, me personally, I wouldn't actually choose this watch because of the thickness. I love the look of it, I love the design, but the thickness, I don't know, it just makes it a little bit too big, too thick on the wrist. It's over 14mm thick because of course it comes with an automatic chronograph movement. If you're okay with the thickness but you don't like this vintage inspired style, you may be looking for something a little bit different still from the Swatch Group, I can suggest also Tissot watch. This one here is called the Tissot Herritage Chronograph Automatic, and it's really awesome. I love that vintage inspired case. I love the play on the colors. These ones are available in a few different colors. My favorite is this blue dial. I love the tachymeter that's integrated on the inside under the crystal. I also really like the case shape. It's very 60s racing watch inspired, but once again, it is a bit on the thicker side. So just keep that in mind because both the Hamilton and the Tissot are pretty much powered by the same movement. Also, the Tissot is a bit larger. It's about 43mm in diameter as opposed to Hamilton, which has a diameter of just 40mm. So between these two, if you have a bit of a smaller wrist, maybe go for Hamilton. If you have a bit of a larger wrist and like that look, go for a Tissot. However, there's a few other watches that I'd like to mention. Number one is Nivada Grenchen. Now they became sort of this micro brand almost. They are a heritage brand that has been revived. I own one of their watches. I was sent it for review for free. So full disclosure, I did get this watch for free, but I really like it. I think what they have done with this watch is awesome. It looks great, it feels great, and it feels like you own that vintage timepiece. Of course, it's not vintage, but they really did a good job translating that feeling of owning a vintage watch. Perhaps you're looking for something from a more established brand and maybe something German. And here is the watch that I would actually buy. If you were to give me $2,000 today and say, Oleg, go ahead and buy yourself a nice new chronograph, I would probably go for this Junghans Chronoscope. I love the gray dial variant. The pop of color on the hands of those subdials looks really sharp in contrast with this gray dial. I also love the pop of color on the rail track around the dial. The case is nice and slim. It's only 12.6mm and it is an automatic chronograph movement. I don't know how they did it. It also has a pretty nice conservative case size, just over 40mm. So if you have a bit of a smaller wrist, I think this watch is right for you. I really love these Junghans chronographs. I actually did a review of one not that long ago and it was really impressive watch. That Bauhaus simplistic design language really appeals to me. So yeah, if you like this design language, if you like this style, I would go from the Junghans. If you're looking for something that is vintage inspired but something a little bit thinner, Nivada Grenchen is a great option. And if you're okay with a bit of a thickness and you want something from a Swatch Group, the Tissot or the Hamilton are both great options. Next up is a diver watch. Now, if you thought there were a lot of different options for a chronograph in this category, well, divers have even more options. In fact, it's the most popular type of a watch under $2,000. So there's limitless options, but the ones that I wanted to highlight here are Oris options. So you have kind of two different routes that you can take. You can go with that Oris Aquis route, and that's probably the way I would go. I really like that style. It's nice, sharp case lines. I also prefer having 300 meters of water resistance on my diver watch. If it's my only diver, I want it to be a proper diver. These ones do come with a diver's extension, so you can put them over a wetsuit and use them as a proper diver watch. I actually owned one for years and I loved that watch. However, it was just a little bit too thick because of the bracelet design. So keep that in mind. These watches are a bit on the heavier side. Now, if you go for a smaller version, I had the 43.5 millimeters version. They're also available in 39.5 millimeters. Maybe that's the right size for you. Now, unfortunately, in this price category, under $2,000, you're not getting their in-house caliber 400. That would be too good to be true. You're still getting the old Sellita movements. Nothing wrong with them. They're still solid, reliable movements. It's just something that you should be aware of. This model now is available with a better movement, but of course, now they'll be priced over $2,000, closer to $3,500. Now, what's great about these Oris Aquis models is that you get plenty of different choices in terms of coloring and design. You can choose different types of bezel colors. You can choose different types of dial colors. You also have a lot of different strap options from Oris and third parties. So really you can change up the look of the watch in any way you like, and you can score them brand new from gray market dealers under $1,500. That's fantastic. If you're not a big fan of this Aqua style because it's a little bit too aggressive, too much for you, well, Oris also makes this other watch. It's called Divers 65. It's more vintage inspired. It's a bit softer in terms of their design language, and I also really like these watches. You can also score them under $2,000. Now, they don't have 200 or 300 meters of water resistance. You're only getting 100. Still plenty for most people. Don't feel like you're sacrificing anything. It's just something I should mention in this video. They're also powered by Sellita movements, and overall they're great watches. In fact, I have one right here because I just reviewed one. And yeah, it's really good diver watch, universally loved, and pretty much fits on any wrist. Just over 40 millimeters in diameter, nice and slim, nice and comfortable. If you shop around, you can get them for under $1,500. In this price category, it's very hard to beat the offering that Oris gives you. Now, of course, I could have mentioned some Tissot models, some Longines models, some Hamilton models. There are Seikos. There's so many different watches in this price category in terms of divers. You could also go with something like a micro brand. Again, so many great options, but I just want to highlight Oris because on my channel, Oris doesn't get enough love, and they do offer some great quality watches. And lastly, let's talk about an everyday watch. Now, this is the watch that you would probably wear every day to an office. You could argue that Nomos was that watch, but maybe Nomos would be more of a dress watch, and here you want something on a bracelet, something that's very comfortable, something that kind of fits in every situation. Here I only have one option, and it's Tudor Royal. Either you go for 41 millimeter model or a 38 millimeter model, doesn't really matter, it's your personal preference. Both watches could be had under $2,000. I actually owned a 38 millimeter model and I really like that watch. Unfortunately for me personally, for my size of wrist, I have about 7.5 inches wrist. It was just a little bit too small. I think a 41 millimeter version would fit better. Not that long ago, these watches were super desirable. You couldn't score one under $2,000. In fact, they were going over the retail price because a lot of people wanted them. I think now, as the watch market cooled down, you can score quite a few different models under $2,000. You get your choice of different dial colors. You also get your choice of different movements and different sizes. If you go for the 38 millimeter models, they only come with the date complication. The 41 millimeter models come with the day-date complications. Both movements are based on ETA movements, so you're not getting in-house Tudor calibers, but of course you're not really expecting that for a watch around $1,800, $1,700. What you do get is that Tudor quality, you get the Tudor finish, you get Tudor logo on the dial, a great sapphire crystal with AR coating. Now, not all sapphire crystals are made the same. So sometimes when I point out the sapphire in a specific watch, it means that the sapphire is a little bit of a higher quality. Unfortunately, some cheaper sapphires are not as clear, they're not as durable as more expensive sapphires. Tudor here uses something a little bit more expensive, something a little bit more durable. Now this watch still has a screw down crown, 100 meters of water resistance, so you can wear it on daily basis, pretty much put it in any situation and it will look great. That's it, that's the video. Those were my 5, but really more than 5 great watches for under $2,000. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about my picks. Did I miss any watch? Leave your thoughts below. I always enjoy reading them. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.